Welcome back to another edition of Griz Tracks. I'm AJ Mazzolini, sports reporter here with the Mazzolian.
And I'm Bill Speltz, beat writer for the Grizzly football team for the Mazzolian.
And we're here to preview the upcoming game for the Montana football team as they head to North Dakota this weekend to take on that team without a nickname up there. What do we know about this matchup here, after coming out of the bye week for the Grizzlies?
Well, one thing we know is that North Dakota has been very adept at scoring points over the years under their current head coach, and I don't think it's going to be any different this season and this week. Even against a really good Montana defense, they're going to put the ball in the air. They have a dynamic wide receiver who leads the football championship subdivision in receiving yards in Greg Harden. So they're going to get some points. The question is, and the interesting thing is, to see how effective Montana's defense will be with pretty much the same personnel as last season when North Dakota set a Big Sky Conference record for passing yards.
Yeah, that's right. That game was another high score, 40-34 North Dakota victory over the Grizzlies last year. And they got burned through the air. It was really the story of that thing. 600 and how many yards was that? 660?
I believe it was 660, and Greg Harden set a individual record, their wide receiver, with 333 yards and 3 touchdowns. Of course, the last one was the most painful. It came with around 12 seconds left and proved to be the difference in that game.
Yeah, another one-score loss for the Grizzlies in a season that was really marred by that. What do you see as the differences this year? As you were saying, a lot of the same personnel back for the Grizzlies. A different quarterback for North Dakota, though.
Definitely a different team at quarterback. They've got 2 redshirt freshmen that they're working with. Joe Molberg and Ryan Bartles are their names. They both had their moments where they've looked good, and they both had some moments where they made some bonehead throws. Now, Joe Molberg came in the second half against South Dakota State last week. In a game that North Dakota lost 35-28, and he looked good in the second half there. He forced a couple of throws, but I'm interested to see which quarterback he's going to start. He's assured us that he's going to play both quarterbacks, but he hasn't really nailed down who is going to start, and he might wait until this afternoon or tomorrow morning to decide.
A little bit of a rotation there. That game against South Dakota State last week, a pretty close one. They kind of put the scare into the Jackrabbits. It looked like a team that's got some expectations this year.
Definitely, and right there, that should have gotten Montana's attention watching that game film, because North Dakota was behind 28-7 late in the third quarter and came back. Had a nice a couple of touchdowns there in the fourth quarter, and it was 35-28, and they actually had possession late in the game around midfield, and an interception ended the threat, and that was it.
Yeah, throw seems to be the way to do things if you're North Dakota. So it'll be interesting to see also if the Grizzly front can get much pressure on those quarterbacks and maybe make things a little easier on those defensive backs.
Yeah, I think they're going to be effective doing that. It's going to be fun to see it. They look so good against Appalachian State. Was that an anomaly, or is that the way it's going to be all season? It'll be fun to see. It's almost like starting the season all over again with the bye week in between.
Yeah, the early bye week. Again, that Appalachian State game 2 weeks ago, Grizzly victory at home. Really set the pace for this season. At least it seems like at this point. How about on the other side of the ball? Grizzly offense against that UND defense.
North Dakota has been real vulnerable against the run. Now, last week they played an excellent running back who led the FCS in rushing yards last season, Zenner for South Dakota State. But Montana's got some pretty good running backs too, with Jordan Canada and Trayvon Van. We saw what he's capable of doing 2 weeks ago. So with the size Montana has up front, their head coach, Coach Mussman, described Montana as an FBS team. So he's buttering them up right now, and we'll see how it turns out for the Grizzlies.
Always a good way to keep the ball out of a dynamic offense's hand is to control that clock and run it down their throats. So I'm sure that'll be at least a little bit in the playbook for the Grizzlies this weekend.
Definitely, and obviously the Griz also have a nice passing game with Jordan Johnson and Ellis Henderson and the gang. Cam Warren has turned out to be a real nice possession receiver for him. So we'll see if they can continue that.
Yeah, and again, that game coming up here on Saturday on the road. And check the Mazzolian this weekend to see how they fared. And keep tuned to Mazzolian.com for our weekly videos. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.